Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
This is the FunBelt podcast, part of the Believe Network.
Hosts to Dusty Thibodeau of Warhawk Report, Jeremy Harper of Howlraiser, and Shane Metlin of the Daily News Record.
I think it's potentially a very good week for the FunBelts.
But I'm just kind of going off on a random rant. It's just frustrating. It's.
Welcome back to FunBelt Podcast. And the best part about week 2 is that you can put week 1 behind. Everybody who had a bad week 1, forget it. It's week 2. Week 1, you can put the excuses out. There were first of the year jitters. You had some bugs in the game plan. You've smoothed it all out. Week 2 is going to be much different than week 1. Shane Metlin, tell me I'm telling you the truth.
If that's what happened in week 1, then that's great news, because we weren't too pleased with week 1 last time.
No, we weren't angry. We were disappointed. We're disappointed in our boys. Yeah. Come on, Sunbelt. You got to represent. You got to do a little bit more than just beat up on FCS foes. You got to do a little bit more than just arrive to the game when you play against the P4. You got to compete. Tibbs, you have to compete. Am I correct?
Yeah. I told ULM President Kerry Castile that with the lightning delays happening that pushed the game start 2 hours back, that the new effort should be completing the dome over Malone Stadium.
Maybe you can, you know how Arizona bought a bridge from England and shipped it all the way to Phoenix and reassembled it?
We can get the Kibby Dome, is what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. Buy the Kibby Dome, disassemble it, piece by piece, truck it over to Monroe, reassemble it, bam, you got it.
You know what I see happening is as you throw the pieces in the back of the truck, one piece falls off, no one notices it. You go to reassemble it, and there's that one piece missing, just like the damn dollar store puzzle.
You can't fix it. You can't even use a 3D printer to print off the piece. It won't work. Okay, so here's something that surprised me, Shane Metlin, and you made fun of me, but I don't know why. TJ Finley, now a Georgia State Panther. When did this happen?
Well, apparently in May.
Yeah.
But
you didn't know.
They kept a pretty tight lid on that, that he was around for the summer and was just waiting to get cleared before he became a Panther. Okay. So, I don't know if some of our friends who covered Georgia State a little more closely had heard about this, but I was sort of surprised when that news came out. When was it? Monday or Tuesday, that he was basically just ready to start playing for Georgia State.
I guess he's going to play. He was a player of the year at Texas State. Am I right? Or is that player of the year somewhere else? I can't remember.
He probably has several of them.
We counted. He's been with 6 teams. That's a lot of travel for one guy.
You know what that tells me, though, is that Shane, being the elder statesman of the show, he still has eligibility left.
Tibbs, also some other quarterbacking news. It looks like Walker Howard is out of action for the Cajuns. You know anything about this?
Some kind of random injury. Don't know if it was a leg, foot, ankle, back, but whatever it is, reading different things, that it's not necessarily a severe injury, more like one of those that is just a nagging that's going to kind of sideline him. Like we were talking about in the pre-show, though, Jeremy, I think that he had such a rough start that maybe this week of him being ruled out is a chance for him to kind of recollect, regather himself to watch the Cajuns beat up on McNeese State. Okay. And then he can come back in and see or show the Walker Howard that we were expecting to see.
Unless the freshman replacement is just lights out. Then it's a quarterback controversy in Lafayette, which is always fun, especially when you're a head coach.
Or they go full ULM and they put 2 quarterbacks in the backfield.
Yes, it's the coach indecision decision is probably the worst you can possibly do. Guys, I think we're going to go right into it. And I'll tell you why. Because we've got 14 games coming in week 2. Now, when we get back to conference play and it's a more manageable 7, maybe we can have this witty banter expanded. But you and I, the three of us, we've got to get down to business for second and short. You heard the gong, Shane. You know what that means. It means it's time for second and short.
Okay. I thought it meant that Shane showed up.
It's always good when Shane finally shows up. You know, we talk about each game for about the length of 2 minutes. And in that time, if it's the Western team, we lead with Tibbs. If it's the Eastern team, we lead with Shane Metlin. And those are the rules. Gentlemen, I want enthusiasm this time. Are you ready for second and short? Okay.
We're still getting back into it, Jeremy. We just broke camp.
I feel like the background music's going to help pep this up a little bit. You know, a little post-production work. I think we'll be okay.
I didn't want to talk over that.
Yeah. Week 2, Friday, September 5th, is our first Sunbelt game of week 2. And it's James Madison Dukes visiting the Louisville Cardinals, 6 p.m. ESPN2. The Dukes are a 12.5-point underdog. That seems a little strange to me, Shane Metlin. How are the Dukes a 12.5-point underdog to the Cardinals?
In what way does this seem strange?
I don't know. I feel like the Dukes are playing pretty good football. They look real competent against Weber State. I think the Cardinals had Eastern Kentucky, and they too, look pretty competent, 54-17 against Eastern Kentucky. But I don't know. I just feel like the Dukes aren't getting their due.
I don't know. I mean, I guess it's kind of a wait and see type of thing for JMU. Yeah, I think they're good. I think they're talking about being less than a 2-touchdown game. I think Louisville's probably expected to be a contender in the ACC. So if JMU can get a victory here, it's pretty huge. I don't know that it's expected though. It seems about right to me. You look at like the ESPN little pie graph thing that they do, and they give JMU about a 22% chance of winning. That seems about right to me. It's not out of the realm of possibility, but I don't think they're favorites by any means.
The very agreeable Shane Metlin. I like this version of Shane Metlin. JMU ran it in 4 times for 4 touchdowns, but Cardinals kept Eastern Kentucky down to just 79 yards on 39 attempts. Is the run game the key, Thibodeau, for the Dukes in this game?
I think so. I think that it's really going to come down to clock management and whether or not they can just have that one extra possession of the game, despite James Madison and them being, of course, a good old FunBelt team. I like the real UL to take the game.
Yeah, well, all right. Well, I'm going to pick James Madison. I think they author the federal papers and the victory on September 5th. And you guys are going to be calling me the king when it's all said and done. You'll want my advice, my prognostications. Okay, we move on to Saturday's game. Saturday, aside from that JMU game, it's a full Sunbelt slate. Starting with the Trojans and number 8 Clemson Tigers, 2:30 p.m., ACC Network. The Trojans are a 33.5-point underdog to the Tigers, ranked number 8 despite losing to LSU at home. Shane, is this going to be I'm sorry, Thibodeau, is this going to be a big old blowout?
Basically. I mean, you look at Troy, I think that they showed that they had some struggles on both sides of the ball last week against Nicholls State. They were able to pull it out late in the fourth quarter, basically due to just depth over an FCS team, but they're not going to be able to pull it out in the fourth quarter this week. It's going to be Dabo trying to make a name for himself, trying to push his Tigers back up the rankings. All Tigers all the time.
So a big bright spot for that Trojan team was Tay Meadows chalking up 186 yards on the ground. Are we going to see that kind of performance against Clemson, Shane Metlin?
I don't think so. I'm just going to take the time right here to say I have a little bit of a beef with you guys for put Troy in our FunBelt 5. And I was disappointed with Troy in week 1, and I don't expect much out of the Trojans this week either. I think, hopefully we'll see continued improvement in the weeks to come, but I'm not expecting much of a result in Clemson.
I think it's just that Shane and I have profound respect for McNeese. Is that that's what it is, right?
Jeremy, I just hear him complaining that he's trying to basically say that not all votes are counted, not all votes are equal. Wow. Yeah. That's far from the truth, but sometimes we have to make executive decisions. And with him being in a non-American time zone, we just have to sometimes, go on the fly.
He tries to throw his weight around as a legitimate journalist, but that doesn't fly with you and I. So.
No, I'm saying the votes were equal. It's just that you two had bad votes and I had good.
Oh, now he's questioning our integrity and our knowledge. Okay. All right.
Now we know who the guy is that voted for FIU.
I don't have a vote in the football poll.
I'm getting us back on track. Later on, at the exact same time, 2:30 p.m., the Lindenwood Lions, I don't know them. They visit Appalachian State Mountaineers. No odds are given. It's on ESPN+. Dow Loggins and his team kind of answered all the questions they needed to answer in week one by thumping Charlotte. AJ Swan, he ended up being the FunBelt Player of the Week with 368 yards and 3 touchdowns. Shane Metlin, I don't know who the Lindenwood Lions are, but I have a feeling they won't be much of a match.
Yeah, they were D2 not super long ago. They're from, I think, the St. Louis area. So that's a pretty long trip even to get up the mountain in Boone. So even if they maybe had what it takes to compete with the Mountaineers, they'd be at a disadvantage there. And I don't think they do. I think it's going to be a romp for App State. Put on a show for the home crowd as they have they're technically their home opener. Although, as I keep saying, they basically got an extra home game by playing that one in the Panther Stadium. So congrats to them on that. And they'll keep the celebration going as they enjoy the Loggins era here off to a great start.
The danger zone era. So App State held the 49ers defense to just 76 yards. Did the Lindenwood Lions get even half that many yards?
No, I had to look them up to find out anything about them. This is very much a ULM St. Francis game that no one knows who their opponent is. Sure, it's a lion. It's cool. It's yellow. There's a lot of yellow in the stadium for App State. That's about all I got for you because the Mountaineers are going to roll.
Looks like the Mountaineers might be on a 2-0 start as we head into the season. Here's a low-key, really good, rivalry, in-state rivalry. Texas State Bobcats. They visit UTSA Roadrunners, 2:30 p.m. on ESPN+. The Bobcats are a 4.5-point dog in this game, even though Texas State looked really good against Eastern Michigan. Thibodeau, is that fair to the Bobcats to be that to be the underdog in this game?
I think so, especially because last year when the game was in San Marcos, that was the first time that the Bobcats had won. So they've only ever beaten UTSA once. So that automatically gives them a little bit lower of a rating there on the spread. Add to that every game that's been in the Alamo Dome has been decided by 7 points or less. Bobcats may not win, but it's going to be a fun, exciting game to watch. That's for sure.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be fun. And the Roadrunners, they kind of got grinded up by the Texas A&M, losing 42-24, despite UTSA getting 177 yards and a pair of touchdowns from running back Robert Henry. Shane, do the Bobcats have enough defense to stop Robert Henry in that UTSA run game?
That's the question, because I do think they're going to put up some points. I kind of like, Texas State in this one. Similar to, how I've praised App State for creating a home game on the road. Like, it sounds like there's some Bobcats buying up some tickets over there in San Antonio for this one, and it should be a pretty fun, almost neutral crowd. Even though it's UTSA home game, this is not necessarily the Tibbs pointed to the history. I don't think this is necessarily the history of this series playing out in this one. I like Texas State to get a victory after they really showed something in week one.
Yeah, I think both these teams kind of hate each other, but I think the Bobcats might even hate the Roadrunners more than the Roadrunners hate the Bobcats. I could be wrong about that. I don't live in Texas. I can't get my fingers on that pulse, but it kind of feels that way. So at 4 o'clock, Arkansas State Red Wolves take on, for the very first time ever, the first time in the history, more than 100 years of football from the Razorbacks and the Red Wolves playing together on the same field. Just two football teams, bruising it out, settling their differences on the gridiron. The Red Wolves are a 23.5-point dog. What do you think about this game, Dusty Thibodeau?
I didn't know if A-State was really as good as we thought they were going to be based on the game last week.
All right.
Arkansas, we don't really know what they are, so I almost feel like it's kind of two somewhat unknown teams coming in.
Yeah. Okay.
Jeremy, I love some barbecue brisket. I love ribs.
Okay.
But that has nothing to do with the fact that Arkansas State is going to fall hard to Arkansas in that inaugural game.
All right. Yeah, fair enough. Vegas agrees with you. Shane, do you agree with Thibodeau and Vegas on that?
No, I think it'll be closer than I'm not going as far as to pick the Red Wolves to win this one, but I do think it'll be closer. I think they're going to be within a touchdown or two late in this one. And, I guess if the spread looking like 23 points or whatever it is, yeah, maybe there'll be a late touchdown that kind of like separates it a little bit. But I think it's going to be a game going into like deep into the second half.
Yeah, Shane, I kind of agree that this is two teams that has problems on defense. So they also have two pretty talented quarterbacks on each side. So I feel like there's an opportunity for some scoring. I think it could be fun for the fan bases on both sides. I think there will be blood. If you want to read my preview, you can find it on howrazor.com. Also at 4 p.m., guys, Jackson State Tigers take on a much needy Southern Miss Golden Eagles. ESPN Plus, no odds given. Golden Eagles went 1-11 last year. They're 0-1 this year after losing a pretty tough game against Mississippi State, where Mississippi State ended up running away in the second half. I got to know, Dusty Thibodeau, do the Golden Eagles get their first win of the season against the Jackson State Tigers?
God, I hope so. But, I feel like this is going to be their body bag game to really just kind of come out and showcase what they're really capable of doing. I think last week that game against Mississippi State was a big, solid punch in the face that woke them up, and it might have awoken the sleeping giant. We'll have to wait and see. I don't think that this week is really an indication of how good or how bad this team is, but I definitely think they get the win this week.
Yeah. Braylon Braxton is still the preseason player of the year. He had a couple TDs and a pick on Saturday. He could certainly improve his numbers against the FCS opponent like Jackson State. Is this where the Golden Eagles get off the snide, Shane Metlin?
Yeah, and this isn't Dion's Jackson State teams. They're not running out there with Heisman caliber talent. It's going to be an easy one for Southern Miss. I think Braylon Braxton gets to clean up the mistakes that he made in game one. He'll put up some big numbers, probably sit most of the fourth quarter because this one's not going to be very close.
All right. Not going to be close. That's probably good news for the Southern Miss Golden Eagles. I agree. It's going to be a nice little respite for them. Maybe you got to learn how to win, guys. And you can't learn how to win unless you win, right? Speaking of learning how to win, Missouri State Bears take on the Marshall Thundering Herd at 5 p.m. ESPN Plus, and the Thundering Herd are favored in this by 10.5 points. I think that's great. Missouri State got thumped by USC, who...
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like aloe or Skims, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and brilliant marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling and, for shoppers, buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. With Shop Pay, that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts are going abandoned and way more sales happening happening. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell whatever your customers are scrolling or strolling on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Skins uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Grainger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call quickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
We'll talk about it a little bit later for another game. 73-13, that's pretty rough. Meanwhile, the Herd, they got a similar clobbering, getting beat 45-7 by Georgia. These are two teams that got beat up in week one. I need to know, Shane Metlin, who gets beat up in week two?
I think Marshall's going to win this one. I think, they get to come home, have the opportunity to kind of, show off their new team. Missouri State is still essentially an FCS program. We know that they've moved up and they're playing Conference USA. They're better than maybe your typical FCS program, but I do think it's going to be a game that Marshall's able to pull out and start to gain a little momentum with their new look program. And it'll be a big win for them. I don't know. I think it's potentially a tough year for the Herd, and this is going to be an important game for them to have something to build off of.
If this were the Missouri State Bears, I'd have much more confidence in the Bears over the Thundering Herd if it were baseball, but it's not. It's football. They're on the Herd's home turf. Dusty, what do you see coming out of this game?
Sunbelt over Conference USA. What more do we have to say? I mean, it happens time and time again. It's another must-win over a peer conference to keep pushing the Sun Belt up and up on the charts to be the premier G6.
Dusty Thibodeau is 1,000% right. If the Sun Belt is going to keep calling themselves a premier group of six league, they're going to have to win these games. And they're going to have to, I feel like the Thunder Herd's going to have to get a little bit more production from their QBs, whether it's Long or Turner. Somebody's going to have to step up, but I feel like the Herd bring it home. Here's another one of those games where I don't really know the opponent, guys. North Carolina Central Eagles taking on the Old Dominion Monarchs, 5 p.m., ESPN Plus, no odds given. I know nothing about the Eagles. I do know that they have already played 2 games and they're 1-1. That's all I know. So, Shane, maybe you can enlighten us a little bit.
Yeah, ODU is going to roll in this one, partially because the best student athletes that take classes at NC Central don't necessarily play their games for NC Central. It's kind of a running joke that Duke students will take some of their harder classes at NC Central so they can stay eligible.
Wow.
As they share Durham zip code. So, that's my main takeaway from NC Central too. In this one, I don't know much about their football program, but I think, coming off a loss to New Hampshire, I'm expecting ODU's offense to just roll in this one. Colton Joseph was good in a tough loss at Indiana, but he was very impressive, both running and throwing the ball. So I expect ODU to put up some serious points in this one.
Well, Colton Joseph did throw 3 picks, so that wasn't too great. But he did keep that game fairly close against it. What? Huh?
He had a lot of yards, though.
He did. He had a lot of yards on the ground. The kid could run.
Up to turnovers.
Yeah. Okay. Look for Joseph and ODU to find more rhythm against NCC. Am I right, Thibodeau?
Without a doubt. So NC Central, that is the MEAC conference. That is the East Coast SWAC-tastic conference.
Oh, okay.
I don't think you're allowed to compare them. That's probably a crime I just committed. But yeah, this is definitely ODU's body bag game. They're good tune-up, bounce back, however you want to look at it. Colton Joseph probably going to be Offensive Player of the Week after this game. I think that this is really where Old Dominion starts righting the ship and really position themselves to contend in the East this year.
An hour later at 6 p.m., Memphis Tigers go all the way to Atlanta to see Georgia State Panthers, ESPN Plus. The Panthers are a 13.5-point dog, and this is after getting totally blown away 63 to, I believe, 7? Was it 3 or 7? 63-7, I think, to Ole Miss. Meanwhile, the Tigers got their win over Chattanooga, 45-10, courtesy of 4 rushing touchdowns from 4 different runners. So there's a little bit of diversity on that team. So, Shane, do the Georgia State Panthers make a game out of this game against the Memphis Tigers?
I hope so. I hope we just get to talk about what's happening on the field with Georgia State this week, not any of the, pregame shenanigans. We're not, if TJ Finley plays, I hope we're just talking about how well he played and not like any controversy that like he is getting minutes. Like, where did he come from? Like, what's this mean for Georgia State? I hope we just see a solid performance and, beat a American Athletic Conference team, which is what the Sun Belt needs to do more of after a disappointing week 1 in some of those peer matchups.
Yeah, Panthers seem to get up for these early home games. They beat Vanderbilt last year. And if you could put one thing in, like find one silver lining for the Georgia State Panthers in that game against Ole Miss, they did put up 191 ground yards in Oxford, which is pretty good. That's a lot of yards for a team that struggled to move the ball into the end zone. Dusty Thibodeau, are we going to see an upset?
No.
Oh, okay.
I think the Tigers come in and roll over it. Look, I get it. Georgia State going up against one of the better SEC teams there at Ole Miss, but there was just no signs of life out of that team last week until they can kind of show me that they're ready to come in and compete. I got to assume that they're just rolling over dead again. Love to be wrong. Once again, got to beat another G6 peer conference there in the American and Memphis, but I just don't see it happening this week for Dell McGee.
Yeah, Tigers are considered to be one of the best G6 teams this year. So that's another tough test for Dell McGee. Same time, the Tulane Green Wave. John Summerall sighting. He gets to visit South Alabama Jags. His old enemy. 6 p.m. ESPN Plus. The Jags are 10.5-point underdog. We get to see John Summerall back in the Sun Belt, if just for one evening. Jaguars took their time warming up for its opener with Morgan State before eventually closing them out 38-21. I need to ask you, Thibodeau, should we be worried? Should that performance against Morgan State worry us about South Alabama? And should we be worried about this game against Tulane?
I definitely think it's a concern, but I don't think that is the reason that the Jaguars are going to fall to Tulane.
Okay.
I think that the thing that's bigger of why they're going to fall, last week was the first time that South Alabama had won a season opener in 3 seasons.
Oh, gosh.
And in that game, there were some good things. Bishop Davenport, 166 yards, 2 touchdowns, 12 of 14. Kentrell Bishop, 2 touchdowns, 127 yards rushing. But their opponent coming in gave a straight ass whooping to Northwestern. Yeah. They held Northwestern to 76 yards rushing and had 4 interceptions. It doesn't matter what South Alabama does. I think that Tulane defense is that much better, and they're going to showcase that in Mobile on Saturday.
Yeah, you kind of hope that maybe there's a bit of a hangover for the Green Wave. Will there be a hangover for the Green Wave, Shane Metlin?
Yeah, I don't know that there will be, partially because, I mean, it's set up to be that a little bit in this game, the game that like Tulane might overlook. They've got that P4 victory against Northwestern. Then they've got Duke coming up. They've got Ole Miss coming up. Those are games that, you know, they could kind of hang their hat on, and you throw South Alabama into the mix. Maybe they would overlook them a little bit. But you mentioned it, John Sumrall, so many years at Troy, it was a rivalry for him. I don't think he's necessarily going to let them overlook it. The hope for South Alabama might be Kentrell Bishop running the ball, control and time of possession. If they can move it on the ground a little bit against Tulane's defense, maybe they shorten this game and have a chance to stay in it. But otherwise, I think Tulane's just a better team in this one.
You might be right, but I'm going to be the contrarian here. I feel like the one thing that the biggest strength of the Jags is that they just surprise you. You know, they lay an egg in games they're supposed to win, and then they'll win a game they're supposed to lose. And this might be the game that they're supposed to lose and they win. And I do like Bishop Davenport. So I'm gonna ride with the Jags. I know Tibbs that we've been hurt by the Jags again and again, and maybe I've come to like the hurt, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
Make sure you prepare yourself there, Jeremy.
Half an hour later, Georgia Southern Eagles. They go visit USC Trojans, the same team that put a whooping. I gosh, who did they whoop? They whooped Missouri State earlier on. Missouri State's visiting Marshall. It's all circle. Time's a circle. 6:30 FS1. If you have the FS1, you should go ahead and try to get that. The Eagles are a 28.5-point underdog. Way they played against Fresno State, I don't know if that's enough points. Go ahead and talk me off this ledge, Shane.
Yeah, with USC coming off putting up 73 on the Bears, and then you take Georgia Southern, they give up 42 to a Fresno State team that I think is maybe okay, but not gangbusters. I'm a little bit worried that we could see 50, 60 points out of the Trojans in this one. If Georgia Southern doesn't figure out something with their defense pretty quickly. Good news is they've had plenty of time to sit in California and try to figure it out because they've been there all week since that Fresno game. We'll see if that travel strategy pays off for them.
Yeah,
but, I'm not optimistic after week one.
Getting all those sunborn vitamins from that California sunsets and sunrises, that's just going to be good stuff, though. But I feel like USC might convince Clay Helton to go back to the triple option. Thibodeau, do you see any hope in this game?
Nope.
Okay. Is that it? Thanks for keeping us on time, Dusty Thibodeau. I appreciate that.
It's not second and short for nothing.
At the same time, kicking off at the exact same time, the Charleston Southern Buccaneers, another team I don't know much about, go up against the Coastal Carolina Chanticleer, 6:30 p.m. By the way, Chanticleer's also a team I don't know much about. ESPN Plus, no odds are given. The Bucs lost 45-3 against Vanderbilt, but they probably won't fare too much better, I hope, against Coastal Carolina, despite the Chants getting crotch kicked 48-7 by Virginia on Sunday. Shane, give me a deeper rundown on this game.
That much depth to it. Coastal needs to regain some mojo by taking it to Charleston Southern. They got it handed to them against the UVA team that, I think is much better maybe than they have been in recent years, but it's also, that's been the ACC team that Sunbelt programs could kind of count on hanging with, and Coastal didn't. So they need to figure out some things offensively. Charleston Southern's a good team to do that against because, very disappointing week one for Coastal, I think.
Sunbelt does not lose to the FCS, Dusty Thibodeau. Is that edict going to remain intact?
Without a doubt.
Right.
And the team out of this that I feel the worst for is actually backing up to the App State game, the Lindenwood Lions, because they're going to get their ass whooped this week by App State.
Yeah.
And then they get to play Charleston Southern next week after Coastal Carolina whoops up on Charleston Southern.
Okay.
So it's just ass kickings all around.
Oh man, that's just not fair, is it? Okay. All right. I think that's about right. So let's go up to the marquee game of the week, guys. ULM Warhawks. They take on number 21 Alabama Crimson Tide. It's at 6:45 p.m. The SEC Network. The Warhawks are a 36.5-point underdog. The question is, does head coach Bryant Vincent get a Crimson Tide racked by self-doubt, or one that is boiling for bloody revenge? I've got to know, Thibodeau.
If I were a betting man, I would bet the parlay of the Warhawks covering those 36.5, as large as 37.5, and the over 50, because I think at the end of the day, the Warhawks are going to go in there. They're going to compete. But another win against Alabama just doesn't do anything to move the needle when this team's sole goal is to win a Sun Belt Conference championship.
The eyes are on the prize.
To do that, you got to focus on Sun Belt games. Yeah. Get in there, cash that $2 million check, and roll home. And no, that's not FCS mentality. That's just we're banking the money so that we can beat some Red Wolf ass here in a couple weeks.
Thibodeau giving us a cold dose of reality. Shane, are you drinking from that same cup?
I'm not buying that beating Alabama wouldn't move the needle for the Warhawks. I think they would capitalize on that momentum just fine towards building towards doing something in the Sun Belt. I don't think they're going to win, but I do think they're going to cover. I think 36.5 seems like a lot for an Alabama program that kind of looks like a mess right now. And you hear what might be happening behind the scenes. And we know ULM's well coached. We know they're going to want to run the ball and shorten this game. Maybe not even give Alabama enough time to put up 36 more points than they do. I think it's similar to what I said about A-State and Arkansas.
Oh,
I think that ULM could be in this one into the second half. That we're talking about, maybe a 10 to 14 point difference deep into this game before ULM maybe runs out of gas. But I think they're going to cover.
Nick can't save the Crimson Tide anymore. If you won't take my word for it, you can take the word of Florida State and ask them about it, because they seem to be pretty cocky. I don't think we're going to see a ULM upset, but I think you're right, Shane. I think we're going to see ULM put out some good plays. Last game of the night, the McNeese Cowboys visit the Cajuns, 7 p.m., ESPN Plus. No odds are given. The Cowboys put up 50 points on Louisiana College on Saturday, which, putting up 50 points is a feat no matter who you're playing. And while the Cajuns couldn't score more than 12 on Rice on newly refurbished Cajun Field. So I don't know. Maybe the Cajuns need to worry about this game, Dusty Thibodeau.
If you ask some of the older Louisiana Lafayette fans, people like the legendary godfather of the Sun Belt, Jay Walker.
We know him.
This Cajuns-Cowboys rivalry game is just that. That's an old I-10 rivalry game that they're going to try to upset the Cajuns to show that McNeese is back, since it was once one of the big FCS premier programs. But the Cajuns aren't going to lose 2 games in a row on this beautiful new stadium. Because if they do, I think Dr. Brian Maggart's going to get the sledgehammer out and start rebuilding the old Cajun field.
You think that with the refurbishing, with the new additions, that they somehow sucked out the old spirits that somehow safeguarded the Cajuns winning? You think that could be it?
I mean, you go 0-2 in a brand new stadium. The only thing that's really changed is that side. You got to kind of control Z and go backwards, right?
So, Shane Metland, have the Cajuns really summoned dark demons?
I don't know what they've summoned, but they're going to take out some frustration from week 1 on McNeese. This is not basketball where they have the aura over there in McNeese to play with the bigger teams. I just think, for some reason Rice has the Cajuns number and they can't seem to beat them even when they are the better team. I think we're going to see the Louisiana we kind of expected to see week 1 this week, putting a pounding on a rival that they can outmatch and really get some of those good vibes back after disappointing start.
Well, congratulations, gentlemen. That was another successful and beautiful execution of second and short. Everybody give each other a hand. Well done. Good. Well done. Well played.
Guys, your other favorite part.
Yes.
There, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Plugs, promos, and parting shots.
Thank God. Yeah, we still do that. We've been skimping out on that. That's not right. That's not right, guys. We gotta hold the traditions dear.
Shane, please kick us off.
Shane, you.
I'm going to go back to the Louisville James Madison game we already talked about, just to throw out a little bit of a historical tidbit that I like. I mentioned this last time these two teams played a few years ago, but I just love the fact that it's about a 7-hour drive from Harrisonburg to Louisville, Louisville to Harrisonburg. But these two cities, two fine cities, used to be in the same county.
Oh.
And I just really enjoy that fact. It's actually the county that I live in now, which Harrisonburg is no longer part of, and Louisville obviously is no longer part of. But I love that Augusta County, Virginia, used to kind of just go infinitely to the west, and it included Louisville, which was founded and settled by a Virginian who kind of went out there and claimed it for that part of the country. And would have been cool to have been alive when Louisville, Kentucky, and Harrisonburg, Virginia, with their fine football programs, were basically an in-county rivalry.
That's a nice history lesson, Dusty Thibodeau. We really enjoyed that, didn't we?
Yep. Go ahead, Jeremy. Please fill us in.
See, I was waiting for my cue, Dusty. You got to cue me in. You can't just leave me hanging.
Sure.
I got a parting shot. Our good friend Scott Watkins. He covers Southern Miss. We've had him on the show a few times. Quiet guy, very thoughtful. He went ahead and looked at the current AP Top 25, and he figured out how many Group of 5 players were now rostered on those teams. And it's pretty surprising how many Group of 5 players have been poached. But leading the way from all the Group of 5s, COSA, MAC, Mountain West, American, and yes, our FunBelt. The FunBelt was the most poached. 47 players are now playing for current top 25 teams, which leads me to suspect that the things that we were frightened of when NIL came out, when unlimited transfer came out, the horrors that we predicted have come true, that we're nothing more than a farm team for the elite or a farm conference for the elite. And I hope someday someone stands up for us and stops this from happening.
For my parting shot, cheaters never win, but cheaters always win.
Oh, okay.
Of course, the national media wants to pick up on the 2007, nearly 20 year ago victory of ULM over Alabama.
Yeah, we love that story.
And say, oh, that's the only time ULM has ever won against Tuscaloosa and Alabama and everything else. Lies, Jeremy. Lies.
Is this a lie? Okay.
Those cheating bastards had to vacate 2 additional games meaning that this game, should Alabama be able to pull off the upset, would merely tie the all-time record between these two schools.
Wow.
So it's about time that ULM allow Alabama to actually win a game in the series. And that's my parting shot.
It's about time that the record was set straight, Dusty Thibodeau.
I just did that. I mean, it wasn't the Daily News record, but it was the record.
Wow.